Hello, welcome back, my lovely humans. This is Scenic Root Astrology. My name is Makayla. I'm an evolutionary and predictive astrologer, psychic medium, channel, and spiritual empowerment coach. Today is the new moon in Aquarius. I'm recording this on the new moon. It's February 9th, and it's 4:13 p.m. right now. And the new moon is going to be at 5:58 p.m. East Coast time. So honestly, to me, it doesn't matter if you watch this today, tomorrow, 6 months from now. The messages and what I'm seeing under this lunation cycle, and especially what's happening in current time and space with all of our astrology transits, is going to be extremely important over the next 20 years. And this era, this experience, this life moment that we're having right now is like a glimpse into the evolution that can occur for us as individuals over the next 20 years. And so it's an exciting time for me, but as I'm looking at the astrology, I'm also seeing that this is an extremely important time to understand some very deep topics around the human psychology itself and how we operate, right? How we operate through our day-to-day lives, how we operate through certain experiences that happen to us. And specifically, I'm just going to get right into it because I really can't sugarcoat anything and I'm really bad at introductions, but um, getting past like sugar-coated dynamics and getting into the nitty-gritty stuff that deals with trauma. And why I'm specifically talking about trauma is because Aquarius, the archetype of Aquarius in astrology, has an affinity with trauma. And I'll dissect that for people who are new to evolutionary astrology and don't understand why that is the case. There's a very scientific approach to it, a psychological approach, and and it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. So we are now in the age of Pluto and Aquarius. Hi, babies, come over here. Not today. And we are having a new moon in Aquarius. And for those who are new to astrology and maybe aren't following the transits all the time, this is a hell of a week, and next week is a hell of a week. And then we're in a hell of a 6 week period because we've got some pretty intense eclipses coming up. And if you can understand, or at least be aware of what's happening, then it's going to help you navigate through the riptides that will probably manifest, whether it's in your personal life or people around you. That solely depends on your soul growth, where you're at right now, and your personal natal chart. But we're all affected, we're all connected. So either way, if it's a personal thing or it's a friend thing, you're likely to be observing or experiencing some type of emerging, right? That's going to happen with the potent energy, right? So a few days ago, we just had Mercury conjunct Pluto in the sky, and that's when many of us were exposed to things that were hidden or things that we hadn't seen. There was probably cases of documents being involved, since Mercury rules over contracts and also travel, but also negotiations and litigations and so forth. And so there might have been some severances in those dynamics. I certainly saw that in my immediate environment, and Mercury will deal with the negotiation dynamics of that, and it will also deal with anything that has to do with contracts. But the other skill that Mercury has is it's able to go into all of the realms, right? Like Hermes was able to travel into the underworld and meet with Hades and go to the gods and meet with Zeus, and also experience life on Earth with other just normal human beings. So that being said, Mercury conjunct Pluto, Mercury is a bit of a trickster in Roman Greco mythology as Hermes. And so many of us might have been exposed to situations, people, things where we had been tricked before, or we had been lied to, or maybe the 100% truth wasn't told. Well, Pluto's going to extract that. Pluto's going to tell that tale. But on an even not as mundane level, on an even deeper personal level, Mercury conjunct Pluto is also going to bring up deep anxieties and unnerving memories perhaps, and things that have been pretty significant in an individual's life, and it would emerge it to the surface to be exposed, to be looked at, and to be healed. Okay, hold on, let me get my dog up here. Come on. He couldn't reach the stairs. So that being said, that was pretty intense, right? Mercury conjunct Pluto is pretty intense transit, and I want to say it's like dying down, but it's really not, because next week on Valentine's Day, for us in the States, I don't know if other countries celebrate it, but on February 14th, we have Mars conjunct Pluto. And then a few days later on the 17th, we have Venus conjunct Pluto. And so it's going to be followed by the actions of people and the will and the desires of people now being exposed or being taken into power, or people will try to take them at least into power. It's a pretty aggressive transit. It's only going to happen once every 2 years, but it's pretty aggressive, and it's something to really watch out for. I would definitely be careful of traveling that day, especially if this is happening in maybe your third house or your ninth house, for those who do follow the astrology. I would be careful with like using sharp objects. I would be careful with people's tempers. If you're somebody who is in a current relationship dynamic or place in your life where you deal with aggression, and it could become dangerous, I would avoid those situations, okay? Because there will be some power struggles going on around those few days of February 14th. And the ability for aggression to explode will definitely be heightened, okay? Because Mars and Pluto are both war gods. They're both war planets, and then a conjunction is really like an infusion of the two energies. Okay, it's the most powerful and potent transit that you can have is the conjunction, right? So because both energies, both of these planets are infusing each other with both of their power dynamics. And all of this is going to make sense into the new moon that we're talking about today. And then followed by that, Venus conjuncts Pluto. And so now what's on the table on the aftermath of that becomes relationships and money, right? And things of value. But on the positive note, and that's when like the destruction of, relationships that really have like outdated themselves can end, or contracts or money owed to people can be redistributed. The where power has been abused, Pluto doesn't like abuse. Like Pluto is going to expose it. Like Pluto gets a really bad reputation as being like this really negative planet, and like for me, like I have Pluto tattooed on me. Like I love this planet because it's going to expose anything that isn't truthful and honest. And so a part of this, the advice that I want to give to anybody watching this, going into this new moon energy, and especially into the next 20 years, is like, you really need to be an honest person, because if you're not, you're going to have a really hard time for the next 20 years. And I'm dead serious, because Aquarius is sharp, it's intellectual, it's exposes the truth, it sees systems for what they are, it sees people for what they are, it's super objective, it's sharp, crystal clear, air type of energy, and it's pure in that essence. Like it's like the cold pureness of crystallized water, right? Like that snow, like that beautiful snow you see almost, right? If you can think about how like beautiful crystal clear like a snowflake can be, right? And it can be shuddering, right? The truth can be so painful that it can be shuddering. However, because it's Pluto in Aquarius, there's power to it. And I'm a huge proponent and a strong advocate for people being themselves, exposing their truth, telling their story, no matter what. And with Pluto being in an Aquarius, the power is going to come to you. The more that you can do that, the more that you can objectify your story and share it and put it out there, because maybe it might not resonate for everyone, but it will resonate with some people. And that's all that matters, is that like your individual story is being told. Okay. And And this is going to play into the dynamics of why this new moon is so important to kick off the next 20 years, right? And so on a on an astrological scale, just to understand the astrology, Pluto did move into Aquarius last year for a short while, and then it moved back into Capricorn. However, when it did that, we had no personal planets besides the moon, which is a luminary, it's different. We had no personal planets, meaning Mercury, Mars, or Venus, hit Pluto in Aquarius. Now Pluto is in Aquarius again for the second time. It moved back in. And we have all of those planets hitting it, right? Plus the moon. And then now the sun as well is getting infused with the new moon today. So this is the birth. Like, this is the real birth of your Aquarius story. Okay. Your personal piece of this story for the next 20 years. What is happening for you right now in your life? And I can guarantee, I can rest, I really feel confident in saying that most people, like 98%, 99% of people, are experiencing some type of transformation, and whether it's within themselves internally or externally, where there is a part of you or a part of your life that is falling away. And a new part is emerging, okay? And we always talk about new moons, and especially if you've been watching all my videos for a long time of like new things emerging, this is different. Like, this is a way different new moon than normal. And so it's really important to understand, like, what is it asking you to do? Like, what is this? Astrology is a tool for us, right? It's not the end all map, right? We have free will and we have choice, but it is a tool so that we can make more educated and smarter choices, right? This is why people who study astrology and who are into astrology or called to astrology, you're already on a higher consciousness level than other people who are still in you know, the different states of consciousness. Okay. So there, you know, there's still a lot of people out here, no offense, right? Everyone has their place and their time for evolution, and there's nothing wrong with that. But people who study astrology understand time and space and the way that energy works, and they can read energy. You can literally read an invisible thing in a different way, in a different shed of light than most people can even comprehend. And that's very Aquarian. It's accelerated. Okay, now if you haven't watched my Uranus transits video, either you can pause the video now and just write the timestamp and come back, okay? Or after this video, please go and watch my Uranus transits video, because to understand what's going to happen for you as an individual now under these cycles emerging, you're going to want to understand the dynamics of what Uranus transits do and what Aquarius transits do, okay? So this new moon is square Uranus and Taurus. So there's a double, and it's ruled by Uranus and Taurus, okay? So not only is there an affinity because sun and moon in Aquarius conjunct together, also square Uranus, the ruler, okay? So there's a double theme here of the acceleration dynamic going on, and it's gonna happen in your personal life. Like, there is gonna be an acceleration of growth. That will look differently to everyone, and don't be scared, but let's understand what growth means, what Aquarius means, what Uranus means, and especially let's understand a deeper dynamic, what I want to bring into under this lunation about trauma, because for many of us, and I've been all day long, I've been researching some stuff on trauma. This is like one of the things and the side things that I like to do in my astrology, because I have a lot of trauma in my life and I have experienced a lot. And I also have a lot of Aquarius in my chart, and they will go hand in hand. Okay. And earlier today, I was listening to a psychologist on one of my favorite podcasts called The Angry Therapist. And Dr. John Kim and his friend, Dr. Vanessa, I think McDonald is her last name, were doing a deep episode on trauma that I got to dive into. And she actually is a specific trauma therapist. Like, she dedicates her work to it, and she rewired the meaning of trauma. And what she named it was an unbearable emotional experience that lacks a relational home. Okay, an unbearable emotional experience that lacks a relational home. And so when you think about that definition, you can think about what it means to have an unbearable emotional experience. And if you just sit with that, you can understand that so many individuals actually experience trauma and to different levels and degrees. And I think when like PTSD first came out, specifically with the wars and the military and the study of soldiers, and by the way, I'm an ex veteran here, so there was a lot of training that I went through the military on PTSD. You know, people would compare trauma, right? They would compare painful experiences as if like one would outdo the other, but that's really not the case, right? What is an unbearable emotional experience for one human being is going to be different for another human, okay? But the second half of that definition that she talks about is, she says, lacks a relational home. While you can put two people into the same experience, okay? And so, like, just to reiterate my story around sex work, right? And the trauma that I feel like I had subjected and have subjected my body to, even though being able to deal with it in the way that I was, on one level, some providers would not consider that as traumatic as, I had on different levels and degrees, and so, yeah, we could have the same experience, but we would have different ways of coping with it. And that would be due to the relational home, okay? And the relational home really means like a safe environment for somebody to process the unbearable emotional experience, okay? And that can be a friend, a home environment, a family, like, do you have a good therapist? Do you even have a therapist? Where is that person situated in their life that they're able to actually process and reintegrate the trauma so that to move through it, okay, in a safe and approachable environment, okay? And so, these dynamics become very important for us to just to consider right now, because under this lunation cycle, but also like in general, as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, is, what kind of communities do we have? Like, do you have a supportive network of friends? Do you have a supportive network of people at work, at home, and so forth? And even like, I'm in many astrology communities and I come and go in and out and so forth, but they're all very supportive. And if you don't yet, it's not a shame thing, and don't be scared and don't be afraid and so forth. Like, this kind of work and this kind of knowledge and depth is going to help you get there to find them. Okay. You just haven't found them yet, but they are existing, and there is community and people and places that resonate for your soul's growth and evolution, and you do belong. Okay. You do belong. We are human beings. We are wired to belong. That's something that I had gotten to deeply know in my professions as well. And so, this becomes an important thing to consider. Okay. So, what I learned today too was about the memory factor, right, that we have. And this is going to be important because we are in a time where things are literally falling away, because the Capricorn era is falling away and we're shifting into more Aquarian themes in our life. Okay. So Capricorn represents structure, emotional maturity, responsibility, fortitude. Think about it, it's an earth energy. There can be practicality there. There can be sturdiness, achievement, progress, going on an upward journey, uphill battle. Authority is one of them, and power to some degree as well, right? But mostly authority, regulations, rules, restrictions. Capricorn, right? We just had Pluto and Capricorn and since 2008, and think of all of the things that have been destructed and destroyed since 2008, right? What Pluto has done to rules, to regulations, to structures, to societies, right? All those things that I just mentioned. Well, now what comes after Capricorn in the astrology world is Aquarius. And what Aquarius does is it also has an affinity with rules and regulations and structures, but it goes outside of that. It breaks out of that. It pushes the limits. It pushes the boundaries. It creates a fracture because the pressure from Capricorn becomes too much, that it's too much pressure to hold on to. It's too much weight. It's too crystallized, right? There's no room for growth. And so what Aquarius does is it comes in and it puts a crack in that foundation. And then it allows, that crack allows for truth to emerge, for new ideas, for innovation to emerge, for a different way of looking at things, for the system. The flaws in the system weren't that good, or else they wouldn't have been cracks, right? That's another thing, right? There's flaws in every area of our archetypes, in every area of the chart. But if we're looking at Capricorn Aquarius right now, there'll be a flaw, and then what Aquarius does is it comes in and it triggers that flaw, and it cracks it, and it opens it up. And so that's basically what's happening in our personal lives right now. Is and then in the psychology, I want you to think about this from a psychological point of view, is that you could be the strongest human being, successful human being, powerful human being, right? But there's going to be something that the soul needs to continue to evolve on. And so what happens with this deep transit that we're going to go through is there'll be a crack in the foundation somewhere in our life where we thought it was structured, we thought it was sturdy, we thought we could stand on it, but life is going to show you that it wasn't as strong as you thought it was. And so if you're willing to be open to the new possibilities, Aquarius, the transition is going to be a lot more easier for you. But if you're fighting it, and you're holding on, right? And you're living in an illusion, which is focused on Neptune and Pisces right now, and not on the future vision, but in the illusion and the rose-colored glasses that some of us could wear sometimes, then this transition is going to be a bit more traumatic and a bit more painful to go through and to move through. Okay. And so I really encourage people with this new moon square Uranus to be flexible. Okay. Flexible for your perspective to change, for the system and the way in which you live your life to change, for your beliefs, for your values. Be flexible for that to change. Be open for that. All right. It's about creating a different narrative right now. And it doesn't mean that your whole entire life is going to shake up and stir. It does not mean that. Okay. But I guarantee it'll be something very significant for an individual, whether that is small or large, right? That is a personal experience that only you will understand, and that somebody like me talking on YouTube is not going to even possibly be able to fathom. Okay. So I just need a sip of my coffee for a minute. So why we're talking about unbearable trauma and unbearable, hey, honey, come here. Why we're talking about trauma and unbearable experiences. Okay. So, okay. When somebody goes through an experience, that's what I learned today. When somebody goes through experience, like say you go to a theme park with your family, right? And you have a great day and you have like all these memories and all this funness, and there's laughing and there's joy. Your brain files these memories. Okay, it takes the experience of that day and it files them in the hippocampus part of the brain, which is the back part of your brain. Okay, and it stores it there. And so it stores it in three ways. First is the narrative context. So it's the story of the day. So like how it started, the middle and the ending, right? The beginning, middle, and ending, just like any story will have. It will store that part, like how did that memory go that day? And then the emotional context is stored next, right? How did that feel that day? Was it silly? Was it fun? Was it happy? Or was it sad? Was it painful, right? It will store the emotional context next. And then the last file to be stored is the meaning tags. Okay. And then your brain puts a meaning tag on that, right? So that was like a family experience and that was a good day, right? It will store that in the back of your brain so that, you know, the brain is able to file them away. And then when you're telling a story or you're experiencing something likewise, it pulls back that memory. It pulls. So say you go back to the theme park 2 years later, you know how you tell that story. Oh, remember when we came here like 2 years ago? Well, that is the hippocampus part of your brain pulling those memories back forth for you. Okay. And so when somebody experiences these shattering events, and I'm just looking at my notes, I keep looking down, but there's a lot that I wrote today. I was going through a lot of research. So when you have these unbearably emotionally stimulating events, right? These traumatic events, right? The emotions is a biological event, right? So you cannot alter it. Like you cannot change the emotion that's going to come up. It's a biological thing that is happening within your body. And so what happens is the only way, and this is trauma teaching from psychologists, right? The only way to heal it is to reintegrate it into the human psyche to move through the emotion. Okay, that's the only way you can heal these things. You can't toss them out the window. You can't put them in the back of the truck for eternity and expect them to never come to the front. Suppress them. That's when, you look into the work of Dr. Gaber Mate. That's when we literally manifest cancer within our bodies and deep illness within our bodies, right? Because we are suppressing. One quick example is like my grandmother right now has artery disease. And that's because she has been smoking cigarettes her whole life as a stress. She doesn't drink, she doesn't do drugs, she never did anything else. The fucking worst thing she's ever done in her life is smoke a cigarette, but she smokes a lot of them. And as her life has progressed, and like we just lost my grandfather last year, she's been smoking like 40 cigarettes a day. Okay, so the symptom of her trauma response to losing my papa is the smoking of the cigarette. But the cancer is manifesting from the suppressed emotions being masked by the cigarettes. Okay. And so it all becomes connected. Okay. It all becomes connected. So to go back though, so when we have an unbearably emotional experience, those emotions become a biological event. And then the only way to get through that is to experience that full range of emotion. But in that event, our brain responds from a survival mechanism. Okay, survival mechanism. So, what happens is the brain reprioritizes the functions that are happening in the body, and it sends the blood flow and the body's response to bodily functions to 47 different parts of the brain and the body. Okay, so that the individual can adapt to the danger that is taking place. Okay, and so I don't know if I want to give this as a personal example or not, but certain triggers can affect people. Like, all right, so say, I don't know if I want to go there. I'm going to go there. So like sexual abuse. Okay. So sexual abuse can be extremely traumatic thing for somebody to go through, and something that I had in my early childhood too, and many people have, to be honest. So we can stop shaming and talking about it. We should start like learning to tell our stories and our truth and exposing it and being healthy and talking about it and stuff, right? Because this is the way to move through the emotions, and this is the way to heal and refile your memory system. Okay, so your body is adapting to danger, right? So you have this traumatic experience, this emotionally overwhelming traumatic experience. Your body reacts, it sends all these different signals, and it refunctions, the brain refunctions the body to respond to danger. Okay, and then that file system, your regular file system where you would regularly file the happy memories from the theme park, that all goes offline and becomes all discombobulated in the back, because that's not able to function, because there's different other systems now being triggered and activated within your body and your brain, that the regular filing system for your memories in the controlled and the organized way that it goes becomes fragmented. Okay, and this is where that trauma gets initiated, that memory of that trauma gets initiated into our human psyche. Okay, because now that filing system is fragmented, and it's preparing you anytime that trigger can come back up again for a danger and for a threat. Okay, and so that is what triggers are, right? We talk about triggers, we use the term a lot, we hear it a lot, but maybe not a lot of us understand really what a trigger is. A trigger is pulling, like, so say somebody touched me in the way that like reminded me of like a past memory. Okay, that trigger is pulling that file from the back of your brain that was created under a fragmented emotional response. Okay, so it's not really it's in response to danger and threat. It's not in response to calm, collected, organized thought. Okay, it stimulates that brain, and now your brain is all of a sudden rewiring itself again and preparing itself for danger. Okay, and then all of those 47 different parts of the brain and body get re-stimulated again. That's why a trigger can be so intense for people, right? We can get angry immediately, we can want to like, yeah, flip out, or some people react and they want to protect themselves, they want to hide, they want to shy away. There's so many different ways to respond to trauma and reactions and triggers. Nothing is right or wrong. It's just a personal human thing that is based on your psychology, your childhood, your upbringing, and also your astrology chart, that this response now is getting triggered. And so one thing that I liked that this psychologist said was, she's like, we think of trauma and we think of people who have it, which most humans do, as a negative thing, as a weakness. And in reality, it's not. It's a strength response. Okay, it's a survival mechanism. It is the way you survive. And honestly, we actually need those as a means for evolution and for humanity to survive overall, and for us to keep surviving. Okay, it is when people get stuck in the trauma response and they can't move through the emotional dynamic, and they don't have the relational home to work through that trigger or work through that trauma response. They don't have that safety or that safety net set in place to work through that, where they become stuck in the trauma response itself. And then that becomes the symptoms, right? That becomes the symptoms like alcohol abuse, like running away, like shutting down, right? Hurting oneself, right? Anger. I mean, there's so many different responses that we can have that won't be authentic or won't be healthy for the individual, that they stay stuck in that becomes the symptom, that really becomes a virus, right? That really becomes a virus for their life, or toxicity to their life. But like, let's not look at trauma itself as a negative thing. I mean, it's not an enjoyable thing for sure, but like, let's not look at it like a weakness with people. Let's not look at it as like a weakness if we need to talk about it, if we need to expose it, right? If we need to literally share it, right? And I'm here like talking about it in a video under a new moon, right? Because to me, the astrology right now is speaking to a fact of an emergence of a large amount of people who are going to start healing or being approached energetically to start healing the deep traumas that they have been holding on and trying to protect or trying to hide because of shame, because of guilt, because of fear. A large amount of people are going to be given the opportunity now to free themselves, right? And we can now, with our time, with our age, with the technology that we have, we can create safe spaces and communities and reach out to many more people to create these relational homes. I'm going to get emotional. That can heal, that can help heal these people and create these safe spaces and like relate, right? Relate to each other. Okay. And I haven't even shown the chart yet. Oh my goodness. But I'm going to show the astrology chart right now so I can show people what I'm talking about just very briefly, because the conversation is more important, I think, than pointing out the astrology transits, but from my astrology peeps. So let me get my little pointer, and I'm really bad at this. If you stayed with me for a while, you know that I'm bad at this. So here we have the new moon, right? Right there at 20 degrees Aquarius, and it's squaring that Uranus up here at 19 in Taurus up here. But then also it's trine the south node and sextile the north node, okay? And that's in Aries and Libra. And a trine to the south node, a trine is supporting, right? It's boosting and supportive astrology energy. Please let me take another sip of my coffee. So, and the south node is in Libra, right? And also, what does the south node represent? Well, many things, but a lot of it has to do with reintegrating the past, reliving the past, okay? Especially because Pluto, where Pluto's sitting, okay? We're going to lean into Libra first. We're going to lean into that south node first, and go through the south node in order to get to the north node in Aries. So the south node is releasing, reliving the past, revisiting the past, old karmas, other lifetimes. And it's in Libra, so it has to do right now with relationships, with money, with our relationships to other people and money itself, to beauty, to art, exposure, but really like our reflection of ourself in other people. And so you really want to pay attention to like who is in your life right now, and how do you see yourself in them, and vice versa. Okay, that's a big theme with the south node in Libra. And a lot of people's relationships are changing right now because they aren't serving growth anymore. Okay. So, and your soul contracts have decided that this is the time when they leave, and that's okay. That's definitely okay. You will have new ones come in, promise. So, so new moon in Aquarius trine the south node means this is supporting energy for the liberation of your relationships. This is cheerleading you on. This is emphasizing and encouraging the fact that in some dynamics, we need to release and let go of people in our lives that once had value and meaning. Okay. And also things that we hold on to that could be of value and meaning too, right? Like, I don't know, basic, like a car that is like just totally like running you into the ground financially, right? That is just a basic thing. But really, to me, this is more so about relationships right now. So we should be focused on that. We are building the future for ourselves. We are building what we want our vision and our life and our dreams and our wishes to be for the next 20 years. Make sure you know who is going in with you. Are they smart? Are they educated? Are they willing to say they're wrong when they're wrong? Are they willing to apologize? Are they willing to compromise? Are they willing to negotiate? Are they willing to hear you out and hear the other side? These are important Libra dynamics that you want to bring in going forward. Okay. Libra skills like balance, justice, fairness. Is that happening in your relationships right now? And if it isn't, well, the energy is supporting you and encouraging you to release that with this trine. Okay. And on the other side of this, we have the new moon sextile the North Node. Okay. And sextiles are more about poking, right? Poking energy, tickling energy, like that annoyance. Like, hey, did you know? Hey, you know, you got to do this. Hey, you know, you got to go in this direction. Hey, you should look at this person. Hey, maybe you should give this person a chance. Hey, maybe, you know, it's because that's why they're easy aspects, right? In astrology, because a square is going to be pressure, right? And you are getting a square from Uranus directly here. So you will feel the intensity. You will feel under this lunation the need to move in a new direction. You will feel the pressure or the friction or the pushing and the pulling for a change in your opinion or thought or idea. You'll feel that pressure somewhere. Okay. Lean into that, lean into it, and you'll feel the tickling and the poking and the prodding from the North Node and Aries saying, hey, I got this new idea for you. I've got this new adventure for you. I've got this new person for you, you know. And I don't want to make people scared who are in committed relationships right now, right? Like if you're in a committed relationship, like I'm in a new one, right? It's new, but it felt right. And I knew this started when it was supposed to start with the Aries Libra eclipses and all that. But it's like, where are we going in this new direction? How are we healing our old wounds? How are we healing the trauma and the trauma responses from where we've been? And how are we pushing that into a new cycle in our life that is completely fresh, a completely new direction? It means self-empowerment. It means self-growth. It means trust. It means excitement, you know, desire, and so forth. And I do want to actually point out in the fact that because the nodes are always important, right? These are the nodes, right? They look like little horseshoes. I'm drawing them over here. Boop. Kind of look like music notes, but the nodes in Aries and Libra, those are ruled by Venus and Mars. Okay. South node ruled by Venus, North node ruled by Mars. Where are those right now? Those are in Capricorn. So there's a need to work through those dynamics. And Mars is exalted also in Capricorn, right? It works super good, super powerful in Capricorn. It's going to help you bust through those regimens and those things that once were of value. It's going to help you release it. Okay. It's going to help you power through, because what does Mars do? Mars destructs sometimes, right? Mars destroys. It also can encourage growth in the way that it forges through, right? Like I'm getting like this visual of just like forging through like 7 feet of mud for some reason, and you're just like, I gotta get through this mud, and then you come out on the other side and you're like, oh my god, thank God for this Mars strength that I had. But that's like Mars and Capricorn, right? It's like going to get through the quicksand, or it's going to like get through the forging of the mud, and it's cutting through Capricorn. It's cutting through old structures and dynamics. And the South Node in Libra responding to Venus and Capricorn. Well, again, the South Node is asking to release, right? Venus is in Capricorn. So let's release old things, old Capricornian things that have just like crystallized too much and don't allow you any growth to move forward, any structure to move forward, and so forth. And I guarantee for most people, if you can just think back between like February 1st until now, if you can just like sit and meditate on this last week and think about what Mercury stories you were hearing and what they were telling you, it will be a part of this new cycle being initiated and being moved forward. Okay. And so, why this plays also into the trauma thing is because, having to have having the ability to have the foresight to look forward and the vision to look forward also means that you have to be super healthy where you're at in time and space now, right? Because what you're creating exactly today, when you wake up tomorrow, what you're creating exactly tomorrow is going to be your future. And so some of that does mean that we have to look back in history, in our past experiences and what we've been through. And if some of those traumas have not been worked through yet or healed, now is we're giving the opportunity, and we will be given the opportunity continuously to work through them, to heal them. Okay. And just to move forward at an accelerated pace, because basically the less baggage, I don't want to put baggage, say baggage is a negative term, but like the less baggage that we have emotionally that we're holding on to, and that we're not, we've looked at and healed and let go of, right? The faster we can accelerate and move forward as energetic beings, right? So the faster you can manifest, right? You can't manifest, for instance, your desired goals or lives if you're staying in this place of lack, right? And that place of lack is going to come from a state of unhappiness and so forth. And you can follow that line down of the questions of why somebody might be not feeling so great in a moment, and that is okay. It's not a shameful thing. We all go there. I am the queen of having gone there multiple times in my life, and having gone through very deep dark periods and needing to shed traumatic experiences and people and things, and having to like literally reintegrate and sit down in my living room and like, okay, I'm going to go through this. Like, I am going to go through this, not fun, but I'm going to do it. And like with my therapist and astrology coaches and so forth, like I'm a huge proponent for us starting to tell our stories and exposing them. Okay. Because yes, is the new moon Aquarius about being an individual? And I'm going to guarantee you're hearing that a billion times on YouTube. Yes, it is. However, we are always co-regulating with others all the time. Like, I'm an individual making this video for YouTube, but I'm putting it out there for other people to see and be exposed to. So I am literally co-regulating myself. And that's what we do. And that's what psychology actually teaches you, is that yes, we're individuals, but we are actually always a part of the intricacy of everybody all the time. Like, people wonder how their Instagram post is going to reach other people, or if they tweet something, who's going to think what, or who's going to say what, or whatever. And I post this video and I'm posting it to be in relation with just strangers out there in the world, and whoever wants to listen, or whoever's hands this is supposed to reach. Okay, so the essence of what I learned today too is like our neural biology is interpersonal. Like, we are interpersonal human beings, and so we're supposed to be an individual, but you're also supposed to understand that we need relationships to regulate ourselves and to evolve as humanity. And it's literally when babies, for instance, don't get that nurture and that care, that they actually die. And it's not from like a food thing or anything. It's like from an actual need of us humans to be able to have this relatability and so forth. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing the chart because I just wanted to point this out, oh, on a side note, is Saturn important? Also, like, let's just talk about this for a minute. We've got, because it's an important transit, Saturn in Pisces right here, is sextile to Jupiter. So again, this supportive dynamic, right? This cheerleading, I'm sorry, this poking and tickling energy between Saturn and Jupiter, which is in like a new phase. It's a new phase that's emerging. Jupiter is like, okay, well, let's shift those values, right? Let's give a boost, right? Some are breaking, and people in relationships, some are breaking off, some are changing to some degree and level. Well, Jupiter's here also to give you a new perspective, to widen your perspective, to bring new relationships and values and money opportunities and so forth in, right? And it's having a nice aspect to Saturn, right? And Saturn is like, okay, in Pisces, I know I got to dissolve things. I know things are coming to an end, because what does Pisces do? It closes things out. It closes chapters. It erodes. It spreads it into universal love and so forth. And so, we can have respect. We can have solitude with Pisces, but we can also give thanks now to the structures and the foundations in our life that were once important, that had a meaningful purpose up until this point. And now we're ready to pass the torch into the next chapter of humanity, the next chapter in our personal lives. And also we're going to see it collectively unfold too. But it takes more time to see it on the larger collective level, because it needs to be trickled out, and people need to do their individual things, right? So I'm getting off track with my Aquarius mind. But anyway, so if anything, I'm going to stop sharing this today. If anything, I hope that you got something out of this new moon video, because this is the seed being planted, and it is the time to start to react on those things that you're called for, to heal the trauma, to heal the wounds, so that you can liberate yourself, so you can go in a new direction and find your new, people, communities, places, things that are going to help further your evolution and your growth. And, create those relational homes that are going to be important for you as the world shifts really fast around us and as we experience these changes in our personal life, because I know this is a lot of breakups for people right now. I know this is a time for that. Like, it has been since the node switched into Aries and Libra, and I talked about that in my node video that I made last summer. And it doesn't, like, a traumatic experience does not have to be as like what the worst thing as you think about it. Okay. It just has to literally mean an unbearable emotional experience that does not have a relational home. And so I think that let's be kind and compassionate to each other, as everyone's experiences will be different and be reflected back at each other. And this is also a time to practice that heart-centered approach to compassion and empathy, and caring and nurturing and just supporting each other. And that can literally just be a supportive relational home, can just be you being that friend who is available for that phone call that day that they need, or a hug, or be sending a card, or just reflecting back, like, hey, I see your pain, I see that this was hard for you today, or I see why that experience would be so hard for you. Practicing that and not trying to play tit for tat on well, I went through this, so because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So it's time for people to expose themselves, tell their stories, and be able to find the tribes that are going to be able to support that environment for them. So anyways, happy new moon in Aquarius, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic day. And if you enjoyed this, please give me a like, hit subscribe if you haven't yet. And also make sure to leave me a comment and maybe have some insight into what's going on for you. If you have any questions or comments, I love them. Always well received. So much love, and I'll be back soon. Ciao.